Welcome to this urgent intelligence explainer. We're diving straight into the raw forensic dossier on the May 2026 disclosures. If you're looking for a structured, live cyber espionage briefing, well, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're auditing a heavily redacted, highly classified narrative that connects Cold War spy planes directly to modern unidentified aerial phenomena.
Let's just dive right into this decrypted terminal prompt here, because honestly, the documents we're analyzing today outline a pretty terrifying alleged reality. According to these curated texts, the whole history of 20th century aerospace engineering just isn't what we thought it was. No, it's actually a story of thermodynamic suppression, raw signals intelligence, and literally a desperate shadow war.
The absolute poor hook of these unsealed files poses this massive, mind-bending question. What if the U.S. military's espionage against the Soviets was actually just a trial run for monitoring a non-human network? I mean, think about that. The sources claim that the exact same institutional architecture built to spy on communist radar grids was later aimed at something entirely different.
According to the source material, a totally catastrophic intelligence fracture happened over a super-specific, incredibly tense window. We're talking between May 8th and May 23rd of the year 2026. The intelligence community was apparently facing relentless legal pressure and constantly escalating atmospheric anomalies, and they were allegedly forced to just bleed this highly classified data right into the public domain.
So that brings us to Section 1, the May 2026 Intelligence Fracture. This dossier outlines a massive collision of information. First up is the government's official response, which was the highly sanitized Persue Archive. Now, the texts claim this was a completely calculated distraction. While the newly minted Department of War dumped 162 files, our sources argue it was literally just optical artifacts, thermal exhaust plumes, and like Apollo 17 ice flakes. All of it specifically designed to distract you and me from the actual real physics.
But the real story here, what the documents actually assert, is found in the UMBRA files. While the general public was busy looking at the Persue Archive, this independent transparency nonprofit called the Disclosure Foundation essentially executed a legal strike. They completely forced the NSA's hand to legally release raw, unredacted signals intelligence.
Moving on to Section 2, the SR-71 SIGINT architecture.
Okay, to understand exactly how the NSA allegedly captured these intercepts, we have to look back at the legacy of the Cold War. Listen, UMBRA is not just some generic security clearance. No, it is the absolute peak of sensitive compartmented information. We are talking Category 3 SIGINT. This means the NSA wasn't just tracking some fuzzy radar blips on a screen, they were actively wiretapping the phenomenon itself.
The leaked files go into crazy detail about how radar navigators, guys working in these windowless SIAFs at Kadena Air Base in Japan, basically drafted the electronic warfare blueprints for World War III. They plotted out these super-specific flight paths to deliberately tickle adversarial air defenses, like the Soviet P-14 radar. And the exact moment the enemy flipped the switch, boom! They used the Doppler shift equation to map the exact frequencies of the entire Soviet electronic nervous system.
So the SR-71 Blackbird wasn't just casually flying at Mach 3.29 to snap some cool photos. Not at all. According to the text, this jet acted as a massive, macroscopic, supersonic radio antenna to vacuum up all this telemetry. Its flattened aerodynamic edges, the chines, were literally packed full of radar-absorbing electromagnetic sponges.
And this brings us to the absolutely crucial point of the whole dossier. The men who flew the SR-71 Blackbird inadvertently built the exact radar architecture the NSA needed to wiretap the gods. The sources explicitly claim that decades later, the NSA simply took those exact same orbital and ground-based SIGINT arrays, turned them away from Soviet radar dishes, and aimed them directly at a non-human network.
Which leads us straight into Section 3, Wiretapping the Aronic network.
Get this. The unredacted signal logs actually mathematically mapped telemetry that was bouncing across the globe. The NSA intercepted this signal moving directly between subterranean coordinates at Mount Hayes in Alaska, then over to the Giza Plateau in Egypt, and finally beaming up to a massive hollow broadcast tower on the dark side of the moon. I mean, you literally can't make this stuff up.
And the specific, mathematically calculated frequency of this highly structured telemetry ping, it was exactly 110 hertz. This wasn't some organic, biological language. No, it was an incredibly precise,
active machine-to-machine transmission. The NSA's cryptanalysis division allegedly dug into this and revealed that these intercepts are pure quantum-encrypted machine code. According to the text, this mathematically proves that the so-called gray aliens recovered at crash sites, they are actually programmable life forms. Basically, they're synthetic drones receiving wireless software updates so they can survive the lethal 55G forces of their anti-gravity mass reduction drives. And they do this by utilizing a perfect 3.118 meter acoustic standing wave. It's just wild.
Let's unpack Section 4, Immaculate Constellation and the biological antenna.
So you might be wondering, how on earth does the military actually track craft operating under these impossible physics? Well, the texts confirm the existence of a program called Immaculate Constellation. This is the ultimate space-based surveillance net that was leaked during that May 2026 document fracture. It basically acts as the central intelligence fusion hub, just hoarding away high-quality, multi-sensor UAP telemetry, keeping it completely hidden from public and congressional oversight.
To counteract the absolute insane fact that these craft are out there shattering the space-time metric, this whole orbital tracking grid is governed by the physics of space-based synthetic aperture radar. It's brilliant, really. By pulsing these high-powered L-band and P-band microwaves, the satellites exploit the dielectric constants, basically the electrical properties of the atmosphere. This allows them to detect the tiny, microscopic thermal and electromagnetic radiation bleed-off that happens the exact millisecond these craft actually display space-time.
And finally, Section 5, the atmospheric convergence of 2027.
You have to ask yourself, why release all this information now? Like, why did the intelligence fracture happen specifically in 2026? Well, the year 2027 is heavily cited throughout the texts as a massive geophysical convergence point. It's mathematically modeled as the absolute threshold where a weakening Earth magnetosphere and peaking solar wind are going to perfectly overlap.
The text drops this heavy assertion that by 2027, atmospheric ionization is going to render all plasma stealth cloaking, military and non-human, just entirely useless. The entire atmosphere is going to act like a giant coherent lens, essentially making these craft visible to the naked human eye on a global scale. So the intelligence community isn't disclosing all this out of some newfound benevolence. No, the Earth's dying geodynamo is simply forcing their hand.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound thought to end on today. If this forensic intelligence audit of the UMB intercepts is actually accurate, and the Cold War was truly just a trial run for wiretapping an extraterrestrial network, then the sky you are looking up at right now is not empty. It's heavily monitored. So what exactly is looking back down at us? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Until next time, definitely keep looking up and always keep asking questions.